Hello, my friends. Today we are going to be chatting about your victim story versus your ownership story. And what I mean by that, when I mean victim story, is a lot of us tend to feel like our past circumstances and things that are going on even around us currently are indicators of what we are, what we think about ourselves, what we think we're capable of, and a lot of times indicators of the actions we take and the results we get or don't get based on that lack of action or taking the wrong steps, right? Because we think that we see ourselves a certain way or we believe we're only capable of so much. And so we need to start looking at what are those stories that we're creating about our circumstances, about our life, about the way we grew up that are really causing us to have the current thoughts we're having and really limiting us a lot of the times in moving forward and accomplishing the goals that we really want to accomplish. And so when I'm thinking about this, I've thought about, everyone sort of has an origin story, right? Or you think about like superheroes, right? They have an origin story, right? If you think about if you have a favorite superhero or whatever, but they're not the only ones with origin stories, right? We are each the hero or the heroine of our own story. Now, the thing about these origin stories is they are very powerful, right? And we can never change our origin story, where we came from, who we're born to, because the past is the past, and what's happened. But some people, they have a really hard time letting go of the past, and they use it to feel sorry for themselves, to blame other people for the way things are, the way they are. And I used to be one of those people. I was raised by my parents, who are immigrants from the Middle East. My mom's from Jordan, my dad's from Palestine. And being a first generation kid born and raised in the US was like, it's like straddling two different boats in the middle of a very stormy sea. I was always being reminded that I needed to be a good Arab girl, right? That good Arab girls don't wear shorts like that. Good Arab girls don't talk back to their parents. They don't do sleepovers and dating before marriage. Okay, good luck with that, right? What would the family think if they heard that? And eventually I just got sick of fighting, and I learned to just rebel in my own ways, which meant, lying about anything and everything, because the less they knew, the less they could control. But aside from, the challenge of having to keep track of all my lies, that became a very sad and lonely route for me. And I felt a lot of guilt, because no matter what, I really love my parents. And it saddened me that I didn't feel like I could be myself with them, that I felt the need to wear masks and tell lies. Because with every lie comes a betrayal of self. We learn to distrust and disconnect from ourselves. And I realized years later, and with just a little bit of therapy, that although there's never a shortage of love in my home, I never felt emotionally safe to be my own person. I never had a chance to really cultivate who I was, because most of the time I felt trapped. I was like a volcano just ready to explode. In trying to be the right thing to everyone else, I slowly lost pieces of myself, and I suppressed a lot of pain and guilt. But the most disappointing thing was learning to really hold myself back. And in first uncovering all this, I went down the natural course of anger and blame and self-pity. And I felt like if my parents had just taken something from me, that if they had just done a better job, then I wouldn't have felt so lost and unsure of myself, that I wouldn't be so uncomfortable in my own skin, that I wouldn't be so insecure and indecisive. I wouldn't care so much about what other people think. So, boo-hoo, I am the way I am because my parents messed me up. That became a little bit of a victim story. Finally, a justification for the dissatisfaction I felt in my life, a justification for why I numbed out on drugs and partied, a justification for why I ate my feelings, a justification for the basketball-shaped hole I felt in my heart. I mean, did anyone ever think to give my parents a guidebook entitled How to Raise Your Free-Spirited Teenage Daughter with Traditional Middle Eastern Values smack in the middle of Southern California? No, they didn't. My parents did the absolute best that they could with what they had. And in learning to accept them for who they are, which my parents are amazing, I had to learn that until I let go of my victim story, it would always have power over me. And to let go of my victim story meant to change what that story meant to me. Because the past is the past, and what's happened happened. But it's our interpretation of the past that can impact our future. So switching this to an ownership story, I'm grateful my parents raised me the way they did, because those challenges taught me resilience, taught me courage, taught me the ability to stand up for what I believe in, drove my desire for success, independence, spirituality, and it gave me a hunger to live my life with the utmost curiosity and enthusiasm. And that's part of the reason why I'm here making videos today, because it's all part of discovering who I am and finding my own voice and taking responsibility for the results and the kind of life that I want to have, and realizing that it's absolutely up to me and the choices that I make. And the choices that I make are based on the interpretations that I have of my life's experiences. Because we can either disempower ourselves or empower ourselves. See, origin stories fuel the hero's journey, and they are very, very powerful. But the kind of power we give them only depends on the lens in which we see those stories through. So what victim stories do you have? And how can you flip those on their head and start seeing how those experiences actually worked for you, what they did for you, how they actually empowered you, made you stronger, made you more resilient, made you more courageous? How do they actually help you in becoming the person that you are now? So I challenge you, look at those victim stories, be courageous to face those, take ownership, and create your ownership stories so that those experiences don't hold you back and instead fuel your own journey.